toward the end of 24 Deep, we get Walking to My Funeral, and that one was interesting to me. Just the idea of visualizing um, yourself dying like that, but then also the realization that the bulletproof vest didn't work. I always remember that like standing out when I first heard that. Where did that come from?
Just an idea while I was writing, like what if type of deal. So a lot of those lines are just ideas.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
and then I had a cheap bulletproof vest at the time too. And I'm like, man, this doesn't even seem like it would work. I still have it too. So
Hmm. So around this, or it would have been before this time, but then as you're making music, as you're getting in a gang and all this stuff, how did being shy and quiet and staying to yourself go with being around people, being in a gang? Because that doesn't seem to be to match very well.
well, the gang I was with, I was close to since we were kids. So I wasn't that shy to them. Just newer, other people that came in my life while I was banging. I never really said anything to them. Like my big homies, I would talk to them because I trusted them. But as far as everybody else, I just sat quiet in the room pretty much.
Okay, gotcha. And also, as you go with 24 Deep in between Season of Siccness too, how did you realize and understand like other people like my beats? Now with 24 Deep, people are liking my music. How did that affect you creatively, or even just how you felt going into Season of the Siccness?
Well, I felt for some big headed reason, I felt they liked it because I liked it. The beats, they sounded gangster. To me, they sounded better than a lot of stuff that was already out, you know, minus N.W.A. because I wasn't Dre, but, you know, I felt it was on the, and then I figured they liked it because I liked it.
Okay. But what about as a producer with people coming to you asking for beats? Did that start right away after 24 Deep or during that time, or was that later
More during season.
during the Season of Sickness? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So when Season of Sickness, of course, comes out through Priority, and it's also 2 years later, give or around 2 years later, it's a bit of time.
Yeah.
Um, and I wanted you to explain once you got with Priority, how did things change for you creatively, business wise, your mind in general?
Well,
Like,
I started getting paid.
that's a big help.
Dave Weiner made sure I got my money. And Dave actually tried to sign me without black market, not behind their back, but he just tried to say, we'll give you this much for Lynch. And I guess that offered up like, or well, he said like 2 million or 3 million or 2 million. And probably was like, wait a minute now, he's an underground rapper. But I don't really know how the deal went. I guess Black Market owned some and Priority owned some, and Priority started paying me. So I was getting paid. I was touring more. I was meeting more people. So a lot changed after that. That was the best time of my career.
Yeah, and it's also a very powerful, great album, of course,
Thank you.
and did extremely well with a lot of real big songs on that, which we'll talk about now. So with Season of Sickness, I always thought it was interested with the Kush Break intro, how you were talking about you need to get high to listen to this and telling people to stop and all that.
Mm-hmm.
What made you say and think that and put that on there?
Well, I know when I get high and no matter the music, no matter the genre, I love music. I love listening to music. That's still my favorite thing to this day. It's getting high, watching a movie, or getting high and listening to music. So I figured everybody thought like me,
Okay,
especially people who got high. So
fair enough.
that's
Okay, and then with Sick Made, you talk about knowing how your mind is sick. So that being said, what made you think that, be comfortable to say it, and then deal with that however you were dealing with it at the time?
well, my whole life I've had this atheist argument I had a best friend that he's really Christian. I had this atheist argument, and I used to argue that. And I thought that was worse than the stuff I was arguing in behalf of my music and stuff. So I was already kind of used to, having those type of discussions. So
And why did you think being atheist was so bad?
I didn't. Most people did.
Hmm.
I just believe what I could see, and that's what I would tell them. And I don't, and it's hard for me to believe what I don't see. So that was my argument.
Right.
And religious people look at it bad. So that's the only reason why I thought it was bad.
Okay. Interesting. Okay. And then one of the big songs on Season of the Siccness, of course, is Rest in Piss. That one, especially the title, I just remember hearing it, seeing it, and just being like, wow, that's crazy. Do you remember how that concept or idea came to you?
Around that time, my cousin had got shot at a video shoot, SIBO's video shoot. I was just mad. I was mad at the world and stuff like that. Even when we were running around the streets, make them rest in piss instead of peace. So I just put that in a rhyme, made a song about it. It's just anger.
Well, that incident at the video shoot is something that you talk about a lot throughout a lot of your music during this era. And was music the best and only way you were able to like really, I guess, vent or kind of get it off your chest or process the frustration and the anger and the bitterness? Like how did you find that helpful, or did it make you more angry? Like what was happening?
Well, in following directions of Big Zo before he got locked up, it helped that way. I had to follow those directions he gave me. I felt in my head. So venting it out in record, hoping he would hear it, actually, it did help. It helped.
Yeah, because I think
going out and doing anything.
That's for sure.
Especially at that time in my career.
Yeah. And Rest in Piss, I think, also has one of your more amazing flows on there. So the passion on that song is like incredible. When you were recording it, did it feel different making it?
A lot of anger. It's kind of blurry, but I know that I was mad in the studio. I walked out of that booth puffing and puffing for just that song. And the cue ball song, where it says cue ball at the beginning. It's called Made Sick.
Yeah.
Those two songs gave me a certain feeling when I recorded them versus every other song on there.
Well, like I said, Rest in Piss, I definitely think the way your delivery on there is so passionate, and I assumed that that's what it was from, but
yeah,
I'm glad you also
head.
I guess I'm glad that it seemed different because it comes off different, I guess is the way to say it. Not that I'm glad that happened, of course, but
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Also with the Return of the Baby and some of the stuff here, I actually helped indirectly get you to Strange with My World, because I'd sold the beat to Tech with Trackster, the My World. Yeah.
I didn't know that. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So the thing is, on My World, you reference a lot of the lyrics and passages from Season of the Siccness. Mm-hmm. So do you remember so much further down the line in like 2006-ish or 5 when you would have made the song, why you wanted to reference stuff from Season of the Siccness?
Well, I'm always going to reference stuff from that period. That was the best time of my life and sort of the worst. So my mind stays there. And, I don't want to go into the new stuff yet, but I mean, even with that, my mind is still kind of going back in the 90s with some of the stuff I've been writing for the newest album.
Okay. Gotcha.
So I always reference, but my main goal for that song was to hang with Tech Nine. So I know how he spit fast. And at that time I kind of just like gave it to Bone and Twister and all that, all the spitting fast, but I knew Tech was gonna want me to spit fast. And plus, he's one of those gracious artists who sent me the lyrics first instead of waiting. Because I probably wouldn't have spit fast on that song if he didn't send me his lyrics.
Okay. Interesting.
Hmm.
Yeah. Now, also, speaking of referencing things too, on Liquor Sick, you also referenced the dead man walking to my casket. So that was always something that I noticed that you did quite often, that I just always, I just always enjoyed that and thought that was cool that, people that listen to Lynch, they'll get this. The other people, we got to play them the songs or whatever.
It's under the press. It's under the preference. I used to always say I'm already dead. People say, "Man, you better stop doing that. You're gonna end up dying." And I say I'm already dead. That's where those types of lines come from.
Break it down. What made you say or think or the already dead part?
Um, just being an only child and not having friends and being shy. I feel like I'm not here. I don't know more, but that's what I felt back then.
Well, what happened to make you not feel like that anymore?
Probably getting out and dealing with fans and stuff, doing meet and greets and stuff, and meeting people and seeing that they do see me and how much props they gave me. And over time, I'm talking more to you now than I used to talk back then. You know what I mean? I'd keep my answers short in every interview.
Yeah.
And that's just over time dealing with fans and seeing that they've been supported me and still do. That makes me want to talk a lot now. And
Okay.
plus I smoked a lot too. So I talk a lot when I smoke. So
Gotcha. Well, I hear that does it.
yeah.
So also Deep Down is another song where you're shouting out people that had passed away. Um, and that one I also thought it was interesting because you're talking about you could load up a gun, but why? So in that one, we see the rage and the anger that we get on Liquor Sick or some of the other songs, but it's balanced by understanding that you could do all those things, but like kind of what's the purpose? So what
It
reflect?
doesn't bring anybody back. That was my thing. Why should I do that? Because there was a lot of times I was angry. And like when my sister died, she got killed by her boyfriend. And little stuff like that. But then I could have got him, but I didn't. So that's pretty much venting on a song again.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's
Asking myself, you know what I mean? And asking the fans,
yeah.
why?
That's a lot of questions, man. Um, and that you also had on Deep Down the reference to back fade yet again, another reference. So
I call my own songs out all the time.
I've noticed. With Dead Man Walking though, I was curious when you were talking about your mom trying to take you out the game. What did you mean? What was that about?
Well, she didn't want a baby and late 60s. I don't know what their abortion rules were, but she tried to drink some alcohol, some hot liquor to get rid of me. I didn't find out that until later in my life. So I just want to mention it. I'm the type that I never like shy away from telling you the truth about my life. Because now that I see the fans really listen, not expecting anything back from them, but just to understand what I've been through and why I rap like I do and why I talk about what I talk about.
Okay. Yeah, because I've already learned a lot. So it's been great already. So thank you.
Thank you.
Um, Also, too, with earlier in Season of the Sickness, but then when you get to Real Lokes talking about doing stuff for your kids, I wanted the balance of it seemed to have animosity about children, but then at the same time, you're saying you want to do this to provide for your kids. So,
Mhm.
what was that dichotomy that you were wrestling with at the time?
Well, at the time, I was trying to handle a career, and I had a baby's mom who wasn't really being a baby's mom. She was trying to be a rapper, and she was hanging out with her friends, and I did most of the responsibilities when it came to our two kids. So um, I talked about it in my stuff, hoping that certain people would get the message, and then people and men who went through that too, you know, to get a message. But mostly it was for her, a little message to my baby's mom, like, you're not helping me, type of thing.
Gotcha. Okay. And then we end Season of Sickness with Inhale with the Devil, where you talk about how I shot you last time to make sure it wasn't me. Um, since the fundamental rip out cannibalism came from a dream, was this another part of the dream or a different dream or just your idea?
Just being creative on top of it, just like for the new album, The Devil's Coming Back.
Okay. Well, that
So
sounds interesting.
that's his creativeness after that dream.
Okay. Got you. Now, with Season of the Sickness, the best time of your life, you're blowing up, you're doing extremely well.
Mhm.
As far as at this time doing shows and stuff, how did your career, your reach expand before we get to Loaded? Like, what was happening, like creatively and just on all levels?
Well, we were shockingly, every city that Black Market sent me to, they knew who I was. So performances got easy for me. You know what I mean? So um going on tour like was a trip. Like I thought I would be on tour fighting to be known. And it was more because I didn't tour right away. Like I didn't tour 24 deep at all. I didn't tour till Season. And I guess a lot of people had already knew who I was. So it was it made it a lot easier for me. So it wasn't like I had to prove myself when I got on the road. Unlike, and a lot of artists do have to prove themselves on the road, but I never had to take that road.
Hmm. Yeah, I think too, people forget back in 92, 93 that you didn't just put out a record and all of a sudden you're doing shows all over the country
Right,
and people know who you
right.
are. Like, nah, it was you had to build regionally most of the time first, especially if you were
Yeah.
independent like you guys were with Black Market. It's just
Yep.
a very different world than we live in now.
He seemed like for a record exec that was beginning brand newish, he didn't really know. That's his excuse for not paying me. But he got me to places who knew where I was. So he didn't send me everywhere, but he sent me to places like Chicago when I first met Bone. He sent me to Atlanta, Jack the Rapper and stuff. He sent me to places like Seattle because like I started blowing up on the West Coast first. So I did a lot of my shows there. And then it started going everywhere else. Then I started doing cities like Kansas City, Texas, and stuff like that a little later in my career, a couple years after Season came out. I think Priority was a lot of the reason why I got known, though, all around. Them and Master P, because at the time, Master P put me on his movie soundtrack. That pretty much took the United States, they knew who I was after that. That's
Yeah.
what it seemed like to me.
Well, I was going to say you had two major benefits with Priority. Not only did you have national distribution for the first time, but
Mm-hmm.
then you had all the different artists you were able to collaborate with from Priority that put you on their albums or soundtracks or different
Yes.
things that
Yeah.
wouldn't have happened probably otherwise.
Yeah.
In the beginning, hip-hop was ruled by the East Coast. Then the West Coast rose to prominence thanks to gangster rap.
Straight out of Compton, crazy motherfucker named Ice Cube.
Hip-hop changed the world. Gangster rap changed the narrative.
I'm representing for the gangsters all across the world.
And then changed the world again.
Cause I'll come and take your life away.
The history of gangster rap features unheard stories, unseen photos and documents, all with exclusive interviews from the founders and players who shaped gangster rap.
I think a real gangster rapper has to scare you a little bit.
The history of gangster rap written by veteran rap journalist Soren Baker. In stores now.
Yo, what up? This is DJ Quick. Be sure to pick up my homeboy Soren Baker's book, The History of Gangster Rap, if you really want to know what we do.